Sean and I just finished recording a podcast for the Wanna Be Balanced podcast, but it's also the Mormon Enlightenment podcast. And we're sharing a whole bunch of things that we have learned since leaving the Mormon church 2 years ago. We have run into so many different issues and pitfalls, but it's always ended in so much growth and even a deeper connection in our marriage. It has not been easy, let me just be honest. But we wanted to share some of our most recent discoveries and pertaining to some new things that we have been a little more open about since leaving the religion. One of them being alcohol and the other one being our intimacy. So yeah, I just wanted to do this quick video so that I could direct you guys over to the podcast, and we really open up about a lot of things that we've been discussing over the past 2 years, but more recently over the past 2 weeks have been like mind-blowing. So we are very passionate about sharing our journey with all of you and making it public, because it is an intense roller coaster ride of emotions, and it ain't pretty all the time. So we see value in being open and vulnerable about these real life issues that we have dealt with in our own marriage since leaving the religion. It hasn't been easy, but like I said, so much personal growth and even deeper connection has been born from all of our struggles. And so for that, I am definitely grateful. So you can find the podcast on iTunes, or you can go to my website, wannabebalanced.com, and all of our podcast episodes are on there. We're at 87 episodes now, and we have been sharing our journey out of Mormonism since episode 21. So if you want to go way back, you can start there. What started as more of a self-help podcast for moms transformed into our documentation of our journey out of Mormonism. And there's been so many things that we've learned, so many struggles that we've had, and we really open up and we share all of it on the podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm excited that I have Sean here today. He did an incredible video the other day in the Mormon Enlightenment Facebook group, and I just was like, oh my gosh, we got to do this in a podcast too, because I'm just very particular about like audio and like lighting and everything. So he's really good about like spontaneously sharing messages, and I'm really good about scheduling and making sure we have good audio, and I'm more of the planner in the relationship. But this message that he shared,
that was the nice way of saying your video sucked only because of the audio sucked and the lighting sucked, and yeah, so.
Well, it was such a powerful message. I'm like, I want to make sure that everybody can really hear what you're saying and get the most out of it, and more people can find it also, because in the Facebook group, things easily get buried and people may never see the video that he did. So I wanted to make sure to get it on the podcast and on the YouTube channel as well. Yeah, the audio was not good because he was watering the grass, and I noticed those things, and it was really windy. So I'm just like, oh, it was so good. I just wish there wasn't like the water in the background and the wind and all that. So we're going to revisit this whole message, and I just loved Sean's thoughts, and we've just been learning so much. It's been 2 years now since we've been out of the church, and it's funny because you do think that you overcome certain hurdles in your marriage, and you're like, oh my gosh, like we're so good now, like everything's so much better, and then you just get comfortable and you think like things are going to just stay that good. They do for a long time, but then something else comes up, and it always ends up being a really good thing, but it's just really painful when we're going through it, and it's a lot of stress and a lot of talking and arguing, and so over the last 2 weeks we've really come so far in our relationship. We've overcome a lot of things. We've come to a better understanding with one another, and so I'm just really grateful for where we're at, and we wanted to just go through and share some of the things that we have learned more recently. I think in the beginning when we first left the church, like I think we get a little overzealous with like how we want to allow one another to be free, and we want to remove all judgment. But I think in an effort to remove judgment, we may also unintentionally rule out all reason. We were trying so hard to let each other be free, and we didn't want to judge, but we also realized that that mentality can backfire if we try to suppress our true feelings about things. So it's okay to speak up. It's okay to set boundaries in your relationship. It's okay to have requests of one another as long as you both feel you are equally compromising. You can protect your marriage without trying to control or change one another. And so Sean is going to go into a little bit of what he talked about and how some of the things that we've learned and how we've realized that freedom is still very much a good thing, but here's some tips on how to safely navigate your newfound freedom.
Hey guys, good to be with you. Thanks, Crystal. Appreciate it. Glad you liked my video and everything about it. But no, Crystal and I, we have been talking about this a lot over the last, it's been months. But we're seeing in the post-Mormon world some things that are very concerning. And we don't operate from a place of, we need to dictate to the post-Mormon world what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. And, even just consider that kind of dynamic, the post-Mormon world really resents that. The post-Mormon world does not, by and large, it's really this quandrum because they don't want to be told what to do, but left to their own devices, they get into a lot of trouble and a lot of problems. There is some truth when people say that, when people leave the church, their whole lives kind of fall apart. Now, obviously, that's a biased view, but based on what I'm seeing in a lot of different situations, there's some truth to that. And so Crystal and I have been thinking, like, why is that? Why is that it appears as though many people go off the deep end? Why is it that so many people get obsessive over alcohol? Absolutely obsessive. To the extent that it's all they want to talk about, it's all they want to do. And we were thinking about it, and we were looking at, a lot of different situations that we're familiar with, and we thought, gosh, it almost appears as if those people would be better off as Mormons. Not that being a Mormon is really an option anymore, but, at least the Mormon church provided people some guidance in terms of, what they should and shouldn't avoid and what they should and shouldn't do. And Crystal, we kind of feel like people left to their own devices, they just go crazy. And obviously a part of that is a result of leaving a very suppressive religion. Mm-hmm. And they just go absolutely crazy. So
this is a good a day as any to start the rebuilding right.
Hey, all you cats and kittens. Call you Meeple out there, you cool Meeple. I am outside watering my grass. I hope you can hear me okay. Hey, just wanted to share a little bit about what's helped Crystal and I. The water keeps squirting. The wind's blowing the water back at me. Hold on. Crystal and I, 2 years now that we have been out of the church. Over 2 years now. I think we just broke that. So pretty cool stuff. We have made so much progress in so many different areas of our life. And today we're going to go to Pine Valley, up just north of St. George, and just kind of check out the weather up there and check out the little lake up there and have some fun. this water's just shooting back in my face. Crystal was saying how the last time we did what we're about to do up at Pine Valley was 2 years ago, and she remembers because she remembers on the car ride, you know, we felt like we need to get out and we need to get the kids out, and she said that she was in such a bad space emotionally from leaving the religion and from, you know, her whole dark night of the soul and her beliefs crumbling, and she just remembers that that trip was really hard for her, and she was trying so hard to fake that she was happy and fake that she was having a good time, and she was so concerned that the kids could see that she was in a bad place. Anyway, one of the biggest tips I can give you in your marriage, I'm starting to realize and recognize that there's a lot of people who would be potentially, in certain areas, they'd be better off as Mormons. I see a lot of people that leave the church and then they get absolutely fanatical about certain things. Fanatical about things that they're doing, fanatical about sex, fanatical about substance, fanatical about all kinds of things that, you know, maybe in moderation, these things they're good or okay or supplemental, even beneficial, but when they become obsessive, it is hurting your family and it's hurting your children. It's not good. And I've seen a lot of this, and you know, John DeLynn posted a post yesterday or the day before. He was talking about how, you know, people are so desperate for belief, and next thing you know, they're obsessing over a new belief, and all these post-Mormons that obsess over all these different beliefs and practices, and they can't just be okay with not knowing, and they can't just be okay with, so they have to sink their teeth into something, which, you know, I'm not going to judge it, but I am going to say that Crystal and I have had to find some common ground and some boundaries when it comes to things sexual. We've had to find some common ground and some boundaries when it comes to substance. And we've had to find some common ground and some boundaries when it comes to belief. And I've had to learn that, you know, my wife is not like me. I do not want any religion. I do not want any other, I'm not going to glorify any other man or woman ever. I'm going to respect other men and women, but I won't glorify them, and I won't immortalize them, and I won't follow them, you know, just because they're highly intelligent or because I respect them or admire them. I won't, you know, die for them. I won't live for them. And I just won't go there. And Crystal, you know, she admits that she's desperate to fill those voids, and she's desperate. And in order for her to have purpose and meaning in life, she has to know why we're here, where we came from, where we're going, what's the purpose, what's the meaning. You know, we got to crack this code scientifically. How did this all come to be? And whereas, you know, I've just found a lot of peace and satisfaction in not knowing and in my belief that no one knows. So we found common ground around this, and I have to respect that my wife is not like me. I cannot demand her to be like me. And she has had to learn not to require of me that I, you know, match her level of interest in all these different beliefs. If you think I'm walking around and pacing like a maniac, it's because I'm moving a hose around. I just put all this grass in my backyard, and it's already over 90 degrees in St. George, so I got to keep it watered. But if we talked about things sexual, you know, Crystal and I have had to find common ground and boundaries around all kinds of things sexually, and I'm going to tell you what's worked for us. I finally just conceded, you know, and I think part of us got confused because it's like, are we supposed to have definitive roles anymore? Are we supposed to do everything equally anymore, like from now on? And it's all so confusing, but where we found a fit is I let Crystal take the lead on certain things. So when it comes to things sexual, I let my wife take the lead on that. And that's been the best thing that I could have done. So I respect when my wife is feeling any feelings of uncertainty around our intimacy, if she's feeling any feelings of jealousy, or if she's feeling any feelings of insecurity. These are normal feelings, both on the male and the female side, the feminine and the masculine, and I get it too. And I have had to learn that, I need to give my wife, I need to let her take the lead on that, because sometimes I'm not in the same space as her, and if I assume that she's in the same space as me, then that can really cause us a lot of problems, and a lot of pain. And so I've just had to learn that, when it comes to that, I give that to her. I let her kind of hold that, and she's in charge of that, and what does that look like? Well, it's what she's comfortable with in the moment. So, it's not me trying to prod her along, and I want to do this and I want to do that, and I want to, pursue this or pursue that fantasy, or talk about this, talk about that, look at this, look at that. I just don't do that anymore. I'm probably just too liberal in that sense. Not that I'm like, let's drink every night, but it's not like that. But I don't worry about it as much. I don't think about it as much. And so she's good for me that way, really, if I'm being honest. There's times where I'm like, well, I just want to do what I want to do, but that's not good for my marriage. And that's what I found, is that ultimately I value my marriage. I value my relationship with Crystal so much more. I hope this is working. I'm kind of having a connection that's coming in and out. I value my relationship with Crystal more than sexual things. I value my relationship with Crystal, and it's, our history together, our love for one another, our oneness, more than substance, alcohol. I've never tried any hard drugs. I don't want to, and I won't. I've only ever tried marijuana and drinking, and I kind of, I don't know. There's certain things I like about both, but Crystal likes drinking better, which is great. But it's just, I found that we have to stop. One of the things that happens when we come out of religion is we kind of can get very selfish. We have this feeling of, well, I was suppressed and I didn't get to do what I really wanted to do, and I didn't get to be who I really am. I missed out. And next thing you know, you've got men who are out, and they're just doing what they want to do with their friends, and women too. Just, and they it's kind of like a midlife crisis kind of thing, right? Be careful, be careful, because if what you ultimately value is your relationship with your spouse, then you're going to have to make some concessions. You're going to have to compromise. You're going to have to say, I see that this is really important to them, and I'm going to give them that. I'm not going to, fight them on that. I'm not going to, act as though I feel judged and I want to be free, and you're making me feel judged. You're the source of my pain. The religion was the source of my pain. Now you're the source of my pain. The religion was the source of my accountability. Now you're the source of my accountability. We have to be more mature than this, and we have to know that, there's going to be concessions and compromise. Communication is really the key. You have got to have the ability to sit down with your spouse, and if you don't have this ability, start trying to work on it, and just sit down and say, this is what you do that works for me. This is what you do that I love. This is what you do that I really, really value. And can I share with you a few things that aren't working for me? This is very hard to stomach. It takes a tremendous amount of maturity to hear that the person that you want to love you unconditionally the most, there's things about you that they would change. There's things about Crystal that I would change, and I told her that once, and it was so hard for her to hear that. But it doesn't mean I don't love her, and it doesn't mean that I'm not attracted to her, and that I don't want to be with her and grow together. It doesn't minimize how good she's been for me. And there's so many things that Crystal would change about me, and there's so many things that have changed in me for the better because Crystal has been brave, and And I really truthfully, nobody else could tell me what those things are. Nobody else could help me step into that growth, because I just don't believe anybody else really loves me like that. I know she loves me more than any of you love me. I know that she loves me more than anyone on this earth loves me. So I step into that growth for her, and ultimately for me. And that's, you just have to look at this as it applies to everything. When people say marriages fall apart because people leave the church, that's not fair, because I can show you so many marriages that have fallen apart within the church framework. Marriages fall apart because people are not being open and honest with one another. They fall apart because one person is hiding things, or one person is being selfish, or both are being selfish, or both are hiding things. But leaving the religion it's not the reason. However, leaving the religion, in my opinion, can lead to some very bad behavior. And I've been witnessing that, and there's a lot of people that I've been witnessing, and I wouldn't say I'm judging them, I'm just observing them, and I'm realizing that those people would be better off as Mormons, and I think their spouse would prefer them as Mormons. And why is that? Well, it's because they went too far sexually. They took things too far, and I really do. You might say, well, if there's no morality, then you can't go too far. It's all just biology, and it's all just physicality. And I would disagree with that. I would say that one of the things that Crystal and I have had to get clear on is that we really both value a good, wholesome intimacy. Now, that can look a little bit different for everybody, but that means that there's certain things that don't work for her, and there's certain things that don't work for me on both sides, and so we just have to honor that for the wholesomeness of our relationship. I know that there's spouses who look at their or people in a relationship, they look at their significant other and they're saying, I just wish that they didn't want to drink all the time. I just wish they didn't want to do drugs all the time. I just wish that they could operate and have a healthy, relationship outside of, just have a healthy, well-being outside of all those things. Now, we have to revisit that thing that's called, what's that? I just had a brain freeze. Moderation. You have to revisit that. Moderation is not, just because things are put in a religious context, it doesn't mean that they have a trademark or a copyright on these things. Wholesomeness is a good thing, and it's not, you can't say, well, that's a religious thing, I will abandon that. Moderation is a good thing, and you can't say that moderation is born of religion, therefore I resent it, and I resist it, and I reject it. Moderation with everything. You have to be moderate in how much you exercise. You can actually exercise too much. You can have too much of a good thing. But I'm worried, I actually worry about people when they leave the church. I mean, sure, the Mormon church wouldn't have saved your marriage, but we need to use this as an opportunity to grow. I hope we're not using this as an opportunity to say, well, good, now I get to do whatever the hell I want all the time for the rest of my life, and anybody that comes in between me and that satisfaction is an enemy. Even my spouse, even my children. I fear, I really do. I fear because I love you guys, and I love people, and I love Mormon people, and I love post-Mormon people, and we have there's got to be some level of introspection. There's got to be some level of accountability. Yeah, the religion is gone. Where's the accountability? It's gone. Here's the thing about being, not having that kind of a framework, that kind of a, structure. obedience, commandments, you could say, well, this is a good thing, I'm so free. Then why is it ruining your marriage? Why is it ruining you? For a lot of you it is, and for a lot of you, you want to pretend it's not. You want to pretend it's everyone else's problem. I hope that we can take some time and really look inward. We have to look inward. That's all I'm going to say. I don't mean to judge people, but we've got to look inward. Can you just give me a sec? You've got to look inward. Are you being selfish? Are you putting yourself above everyone else, including your spouse and your own children? Are you doing things just to be defiant? Are you doing things just because you can? Like, do you really need to get drunk all day? Do you really need to do that? Do you really need to, do all these different things that you do? We don't all do them, but I would say that first couple years post-religion is pretty massive flare-up. Do you really need to travel all the time and be away from your children all the goddamn time? Just because you're not Mormon and you don't have to be that stereotypical parent, you don't have to, be that stereotypical selfless so-called person, or you're not supposed to be anymore, you don't have to be. Does that mean that you should be gone all the goddamn time? And is that fair to your children? Or would your children even say, kind of preferred mom and dad when they were Mormon? Not because of what they believed, but because they didn't swear as much. Like, every other word is a swear word. They didn't fight as much, and they didn't travel as much and leave us as much. They weren't drunk as much. As much is probably true, because some Mormons get drunk. It kind of makes me a little sad. I have every reason to be happy right now. My marriage is doing really well, and I'm just very, very grateful for the progress that Crystal and I have made and all the work we put in. But I'm seeing things that make me sad. I'm seeing things that make me feel like, oh no, we can do better. So I hope you guys can take a hard look, because you're probably not going to listen to anybody but yourself. And hopefully your spouse has the skills, the ability to come to you and say, hey, we need to talk because this isn't working for me, or that isn't working for me, or I don't like this, or I don't like that, or I wish we could go back to this, or I wish we could go back to that. And hopefully, you don't let your ego flare up and you don't get resentful and reject them and label them. And because I did that to Crystal a few times. I did that, like, no, you will not do this to me. You will not tell me how I have to be. You will not dictate to me what I can and can't do. That's just post-religious, like that's like the person that is in a lifelong relationship and they only ever had sex with one person and they want to go fuck the world, right? Like they want to fuck everything that moves because they just never got to. It's not a good practice. Like that's not going to help them. Are you going to say, well, Sean, you can't judge that. I just did. So it's my opinion, but I'm going to judge it because it can lead to a whole bunch of problems. Whole shit ton of problems if you don't rein this kind of stuff in. If you want to be an alcoholic, you go ahead and be an alcoholic and watch your liver shut down, guys. Watch your organs shut down. Watch your life go to shit. Watch your job go to shit. Because you better learn some goddamn skills around substance. You better learn some skills around sex. You better step into some growth. Start reading some books. Start speaking to your spouse. Start investing in marriage counseling, because I'm just seeing a whole bunch of bad stuff that's scaring the shit out of me. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like things are all rosy post-religion, because it is dirty and it is scary and it is hard. And you can step into a place where your marriage is way better than it ever was as a Mormon, but it ain't easy. And it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some patience, and there's going to be some failures and some big pitfalls, and you're going to have to invest in education, invest in therapy, invest in personal development. That's what's on my heart, guys. I hope that you hear where I'm coming from. Concerned for some really good people, concerned for some really good marriages, concerned for some really good children, some really good families, because I see it. I see where things are going, and it ain't good. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, hey, we're all so much better off post-religion. We are in a lot of ways, and we could be in all ways, but we can't pretend that just because we left a religion, we have our shit together, because we don't. All right, long video. It's what's been on my heart. Crystal and I have been talking about this subject non-stop, and not for us. We worked through all this, and it's taken a lot of time. We're working through other stuff right now that's unrelated, but we see it, and we want to help, and we want to call it out, and we want to make people aware, and I hope you'll listen to me. I just hope you'll listen to me, because you might not be listening to your spouse, and you don't realize they actually have your best interests at heart, and they actually love you so much, and they just want what's best for the marriage, and they just want what's best for you. And you, because of post-religious trauma, you can't hear them, you won't hear them, you won't listen. It's another form of cognitive dissonance. It's another form. They're showing you the evidence that you're wrong, showing you the evidence that you're hurting them, and you're hurting their family, your children. You're hurting yourself, and you can't see it, because it's just another form of cognitive dissonance. Just like people sink their teeth into other beliefs, and then you can't tell them that's not true either. God, it's so obvious, but let's step into a place of humility. Let's step into a place of growth. Like if I sat you down and says, hey, you ready to grow? All right, I'm going to let your spouse, your significant other, tell you everything you do that just bugs the living shit out of them, and everything you do that turns them off towards you, and everything you do that they wish you wouldn't. Can you hear it? You'd be shocked. You think you're doing it right. You think you got it figured out. And some of you, here's the other thing, some of you were dismissive. And that to me is really, really hard to witness. Some of you, your spouses are giving you every clue under the sun that, hey, I don't like it when you do that. Watch their goddamn body language. Pay attention. Watch how they smirk. Watch how they turn away. Watch how they get on their phone. Watch how they go quiet. Pay attention. And they're giving you all the feedback in the world that, hey, this doesn't work for me. They're just not coming out and saying, hey, stop doing that. But take a goddamn clue, and you better start working on your marriage, because I'm 15 years in, almost 16 years into my relationship with Crystal, and I'm recognizing that it's never going to get to a place of just contentment where we no longer have to work. We're always going to be having to learn from each other and work on things. One thing Crystal and I have going for each other that's really good, that helps, we're both very emotional. We both wear our emotions on our sleeve. If one of us is unhappy, the other person knows about it right away. And we love each other so much that we just can't stand to see the other person unsettled or unhappy. So it causes us to address things when they need to be addressed. But there's other people who are just dismissive. There's people who are victims kind of thing, where they don't speak up and say, hey, that thing you do, I don't like that. Don't do that, please. I don't even appreciate that. I don't want that. Didn't sign up for that. One of the things that Crystal said to me that really had an impact, see if you can get with this. She says, Sean, have you ever considered that I thought I was marrying this, good, clean, wholesome guy that, had all this faith. He was a faith-filled person. She wasn't trying to shame me. She was just saying, Sean, I want someone that has faith in something. I want someone who has good morals. I want someone that has good values and doesn't need God to tell him so, doesn't need Jesus to tell him so, or religion to tell him so. I can get with that. That's just like, that's a given. I want to be that for her. I want to be that myself for me. Okay, so either one of you is not speaking up and brave, or the other person's not making it safe. Make it safe. Or one of you's just clueless and just does your shit anyway and just says, oh, to hell with you. I know you don't like me the way I am, but you're stuck with me because we have children together, so deal with it. If that's kind of the approach you're taking, I hope your spouse leaves you. I want them to leave you, because kids would be better off with that bullshit, without that shit in their life, and so would your spouse. They'd be better off with someone who's just decided that you're stuck with me and I'm going to be an asshole. You're stuck with me and I'm going to do everything I want to do. You're going to stuck with me and I'm going to do everything that drives you crazy. Leave that person. Just leave them. Sit them down first and say, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, and if you're not willing to work on it and find compromises and grow as a person, then I'm going to move on. You got to stop being so afraid. As Mormons, we were told that, you have to stay together. Got to work it out. The bishop would say, oh, no, give him another chance, give him another chance, give him another chance. Nah, just end that shit. It's going to be better for everybody. Just end it. At least try to end it. Watch them turn around. Try to end it. Watch them shape up. And if they don't, you don't want them. You understand what I'm saying? It's going to be hard, but you'll find something better than that. So, doesn't sound like religious advice, does it? But that's where I'm operating from, because I'm just seeing gross negligence, seeing some stuff that makes me fucking mad. I want to see people step up. Don't leave Mormonism and become a shitty person. Leave Mormonism and become better. All right. That's what I got for you. All right, love you guys. Catch you later. Here's my beautiful view. The golfers. And then that is my neighbor's house. And then this is Oliver's trampoline. That's my house up there. Crystal in my house. Our house. This is our soccer field. So I'm out watering dry spots. Love you guys. Bye.